Hello, you're watching A News Morning from Baku. I'm Bakhtiar Sanov, and let's see the headlines. Protests resume in Georgia as demonstrations continue for the fifth night. France is set to experience political turbulence as the government is on the verge of collapse. COP16 opens in Riyadh. The focus is on tackling the urgent challenge of land degradation, desertification and drought. Protests continue in Tbilisi for a fifth night over the government's decision to delay EU accession talks until 2028. The opposition accuses the ruling Georgian Dream Party of adopting anti-Western and pro-Russian policies.
Thousands of people gathered outside Parliament today for the fifth night, triggered by the ruling party's decision to suspend the push to start talks on joining the European Union. They are against Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze's decision to suspend EU accession talks until 2028. President Salome Zurabishvili, who supports joining the EU, has asked the Constitutional Court to annul the election results and declare the new legislature and government illegitimate. Voices of protesters spread through not only the streets of Tbilisi, but also at least 8 cities and towns. Some gathered outside Georgia's state television first channel to broadcast their message live. Police used tear gas and water cannons to dispel the crowds. The ruling Georgian Dream Party accused the EU of blackmail following the European Union's call for a rerun of last month's parliamentary elections, citing significant irregularities. Prime Minister says he rejects calls for new elections. The EU and the United States are alarmed by what they see as Georgia's shift away from a pro-Western path. Georgian Dream says it's acting to defend the country's sovereignty against outside interference.
France's minority government is on the verge of collapse. It's after Prime Minister Michel Barnier pushed through the 2025 budget without a parliamentary vote, and no confidence vote looks likely on Wednesday.
A no-confidence motion has been triggered by both the far-right National Rally and the left-wing New Popular Front. It's after Prime Minister Michel Barnier bypassed Parliament to pass the 2025 budget. The budget aims to reduce France's deficit by slashing 40 billion euros in spending and 20 billion euros in tax increases. However, he tried to push it through without the support of the other parties. National Rally lawmakers and the left combined have enough votes to topple Barnier, and leader Marine Le Pen has confirmed her party would vote for the left-wing coalition's no-confidence bill on top of their own bill. If the no-confidence vote does indeed go through on Wednesday, Barnier would have to tender his resignation. But President Emmanuel Macron may ask him and his government to stay on in a caretaker role while he seeks a new prime minister. This would mark only the second time a French government has been ousted since 1958 and the first since 1962. The country's political future remains uncertain, with potential outcomes including the formation of a new government or the establishment of a technocratic interim leadership.
Taxi drivers in the French city of Lyon protested on Monday against the proposed agreement negotiated with the health service on the transport of sedentary patients, causing serious traffic disruption in the city. The protest comes as the government is considering multiple changes to the healthcare reimbursement rules in a bid to reduce the public deficit. Taxi drivers protesting the change in the tariff for health transportation stated that the actions could continue throughout the week. The taxi drivers' demands haven't yet been answered by Prime Minister Michel Barnier's government. Anti-regime groups in Syria claim to have seized Aleppo International Airport, dealing a blow to the government forces. The war in Syria intensified during the last week as anti-government fighters pushed to solidify their positions in various parts of the country. Earlier, the government's forces lost control over Tel Rifat, adjacent to Aleppo. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres' spokesman says that the UN chief calls for an immediate end to hostilities in northwestern Syria and the return to a UN-brokered political process. An overnight Russia drone attack has left Ukraine's western city of Ternopil without electricity, a regional military official said. The full scale of the attack on Ternopil, a major city in Ukraine's west, wasn't immediately clear. Emergency services continue working to restore power supply. Air raid alerts over the Ternopil region, of which the city of Ternopil is the administrative center, lasted for about 2.5 hours. The German Chancellor arrived in Kiev for an unannounced visit, unveiling a new €650 million package of military aid to be delivered in December. Olaf Scholz vowed Berlin would remain Ukraine's biggest backer in Europe.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended the military drone exhibition, highlighting collaborative projects combining German AI and Ukrainian manufacturing. Scholz reiterated Germany's commitment to supporting Ukraine, mentioning the newly pledged €650 million military aid package set to arrive by the end of the year.
This December, a sixth IRIS-T SLM system and further Patriot launchers, as well as more Girard anti-aircraft tanks. In 2025 too, we will supply further air defense systems, howitzers, strike and reconnaissance drones, artillery ammunition, as well as 6 Sea King attack helicopters, just to mention a few of what is to come.
President Zelensky and Olaf Scholz also paid tribute to fallen Ukrainian soldiers at a makeshift memorial in central Kiev on Monday. An unidentified speaker explained that the new drone model was a result of a German-Ukrainian partnership integrating German artificial intelligence with Ukrainian drone manufacturing. The speaker emphasized that the combination of German technology and Ukrainian production methods provided unique advantages over similar drones in its class. The two leaders listened to presentations of drones like the Stark and the Ultra Strike and shook hands with several speakers before departing.
U.S. President Joe Biden arrives in Angola for the long-awaited Africa trip, fulfilling promise to visit sub-Saharan Africa during his presidency. Biden aims to bolster the Lobito Corridor project, linking resource-rich Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia to the Angolan port of Lobito on the Atlantic Ocean. The corridor promises to streamline trade and divert cobalt and copper trade from China to the United States. During his 2-day visit to Angola, Biden is scheduled to meet with President João Lourenço and Zambian leader President Hakainde Hichilema. As COP16 opens in Riyadh, the focus is on tackling the urgent challenge of land degradation, a critical issue especially for the Middle East. With global leaders gathering, the conference aims to forge stronger commitments and actions to restore land and enhance drought resilience for future generations.
With the theme Our Land, Our Future, COP16 is the largest ever UNCCD meeting and the first to be hosted in the Middle East and the North Africa region. This may set the stage for the country to play a huge role in negotiations at the event, since the area knows firsthand the impact of desertification.
COP16 is poised to be a game changer, marking a renewed global commitment to accelerate investment and action to restore land and boost drought resilience for the benefit of people and planet.
In the opening remarks of the plenary meeting at COP16, Saudi Arabia's newly appointed COP16 president committed to collaborating with the global community.
Dear participants, international reports show the degradation of more than 100 million hectares of agricultural land, forest and grasslands by every year. And this has an impact on more than 3 billion persons around the world. And this will lead to a loss of $6 trillion per year, in addition to losses in biodiversity and climate change.
Heads of delegations discussed ambitious goals for land restoration and environmental sustainability at the ministerial meeting.
We build on the policy options presented by the Intergovernmental Working Group on Drought. We need to focus on strengthening disaster preparedness, enhancing regional cooperation, and ensuring that drought resilience is integrated into broader climate and development agendas.
COP16 is seen as a critical moment for governments and non-state actors to slow and reverse land degradation. It could be a pivotal opportunity to unite nations in a common effort. As COP16 progresses, the world may look to Riyadh for bold commitments and concrete action for sustainable land management practices. As the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia leads the way, the outcomes of this historic conference could set the stage for meaningful change in combating desertification, not just in the Middle East, but globally.
Vanuatu finds itself on the front lines of a climate crisis that it did not create, says Ralph Regan-Vanu, the envoy for climate change and the environment for the small island nation. This statement was made at the United Nations highest court.
Vanuatu, a small island nation, called to define country's legal responsibilities regarding climate change, highlighting the existential threats it faces. Ralph Regan-Vanu, the envoy for climate change and the environment of the small island nation, said that during hearing at the UN court.
Yet today, we find ourselves on the front lines of a crisis we did not create. A crisis that threatens our very existence and that of so many other peoples who have come in unprecedented numbers to be heard by this court.
Regan-Vanu stressed the case's importance, pointing to the damage already inflicted on Vanuatu and the broader threat to humanity.
At issue in this case is the legality under the entire corpus of international law of a certain conduct displayed by specific states over time, which has interfered with the climate system to a point that has already resulted in injury to Vanuatu and that threatens the survival of my people and of humanity as a whole. The current emission reduction commitments of states, even if fully respected, will see a catastrophic increase in temperature.
The problems faced by small island nations were also discussed at the largest UN climate conference, COP29, in Baku in November, highlighting the urgent need for global action. The court is hearing testimony from small island states as well as major emitters like the US and China and OPEC, with proceedings continuing until December 13 and a ruling expected in 2025.
The Federal Reserve is considering another interest rate cut in December. That's according to Christopher Waller, a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. The Fed's next move would follow a series of recent rate adjustments. In November, the central bank reduced its benchmark rate by 25 basis points to a target range of 4.5% to 4.75%. This marked the second rate cut since the coronavirus pandemic began, underscoring a shift from earlier tightening policies. In September, the Fed exceeded expectations by slashing rates by 50 basis points, signaling a more aggressive approach to bolstering the economy and signs of cooling inflation. With inflation trending lower, economists and market observers are closely watching the Fed's December meeting for signals of a more accommodative monetary stance heading into 2025. The Kremlin says any U.S. attempt to compel countries to use the U.S. dollar will backfire after U.S. President-elect Donald Trump threatened to impose tariffs on BRICS countries if in fact they create their own currency.
Kremlin spokesperson commenting on U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's threat to impose tariffs on BRICS countries if they create their own currency said on Monday that any U.S. attempt to compel countries to use the dollar will backfire. Moscow said the dollar was losing its appeal as a reserve currency for many countries and the trend was gathering pace. Trump demanded Saturday that the Nine Nations bloc commit to not creating a new currency or supporting another currency that would replace the dollar, saying they would otherwise face 100% tariffs. Leading politicians in Brazil and Russia have suggested creating a BRICS currency to reduce the US dollar's dominance in global trade. But internal disagreement in the alliance of Russia, China, Brazil, India, South Africa, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates has slowed any progress.
An Austrian teenager performed the world's first double backflip in the surf freestyle competition at the Wingfoil World Cup in Brazil. Thomas Ashworth scored a perfect 10 following his performance in the semifinals, making him secure a win.
A world first. This is how 17-year-old Thomas Ascherer marked his first win in the surf freestyle discipline at the Wingfoil World Cup in Brazil. Finishing second and sharing the podium in that discipline is his twin brother, Alexander. Thomas says this win is proof of their potential and hopes to achieve more. The World Championship, however, saw Thomas coming in third, with France's Axel Gerard in second, and the US Christopher McDonald taking his second World Championship title. Meanwhile, Spain's Nia Surdias won the women's surf freestyle competition. This win gives the Surdias 4 wins this year and her second consecutive world title. The 17-year-old says she can feel the pressure from her rivals.
That's all we have for this hour. You can also get the latest news and headlines around the clock on our website, that is anews.tv. Thank you for watching, and also we wish you a good day ahead.